Welcome to the 1 Hour Guide by Anil Nathu.
Okay.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into Michael E. Porter's competitive advantage.
Yeah, we're going to be looking specifically at chapters 1 through 13.
We've got a really good summary guide to help us through it.
Yeah, it's a dense book.
This book is a beast,
Yeah.
but it's just brilliant, in terms of insights, how companies can really kind of outmaneuver their competition, and we're going to try and distill those key takeaways for you today.
Absolutely.
Explore concepts like the 5 forces, something called the value chain,
Right.
and even this really interesting idea that some competitors can actually be good for your business.
It's amazing how relevant Porter's work remains decades later, really.
Yeah.
And competitive advantage really goes beyond just kind of analyzing industries like he did in his earlier work.
Yeah.
This really takes us inside the company itself.
Insight.
It examines how firms create and sustain that edge that lets them win.
So it's not just about being good at what you do.
No.
It's about how you stack up against all the other players, right?
Exactly. And Porter calls this competitive strategy. And he provides this powerful framework, the 5 forces, to analyze any industry. And the first one is the threat of new entrants.
Okay.
So you've got to ask yourself, how easily could someone else just come in and start doing what I'm doing?
Copy you.
Replicate your business model.
Right.
And then there's the bargaining power of buyers.
Okay.
So think about, how these massive retailers can really squeeze suppliers on price.
So already as a listener, I'm feeling a little bit of the pressure here. So what else do we need to think about?
Well, then there's the flip side, the bargaining power of suppliers.
Oh, okay.
So can they dictate terms to you?
Right, yeah.
Because they're the only game in town. And then you've got to think about substitutes,
Okay.
not just direct rivals,
Right.
but products or services that could come along and fulfill the same need,
Oh, okay.
but in a totally different way.
In a totally different way.
Like video calls replacing business travel.
Oh, yeah.
That was a major
Major disruption.
disruption.
Yeah, big change. So what's that final force then?
The one we're all very familiar with, the rivalry among existing competitors.
Okay.
So how intense is that battle for customers in your space? And these 5 forces together really kind of paint a picture.
Okay.
They show you how profitable an industry is likely to be,
Uh-huh.
and even why some companies thrive in tough environments.
So it's almost like having a map, like a competitive terrain map.
Yeah.
You've kind of got the lay of the land. But then how do you actually win the game? Like how do you actually chart a course to victory?
Right. That's where Porter's 3 generic strategies for achieving a competitive advantage really come into play.
Oh, okay.
We've got cost leadership,
Okay.
differentiation,
Okay.
and focus.
Okay, so let's go through those one by one. What is cost leadership?
It's all about being the most efficient producer, which allows you to either undercut everyone else on price or make higher profits on each sale.
So you can do it either way.
Right. And probably the classic example is Walmart.
Everyone knows Walmart.
Yeah.
Okay, what about differentiation?
Differentiation is about creating a product or service that's just so unique and desirable that people are willing to pay a premium for it.
Okay.
They want it so bad they'll pay more for it.
Okay.
A company that's really built an empire on this is Apple.
Apple.
You know?
Yeah, they've really nailed that. And this focus is strategy. What's that about?
Focus is about dominating a particular niche.
Okay.
And you can do this in a couple of ways. You could be the low-cost player within that niche.
Right.
Or you could tailor your offerings to meet the specific needs of that niche
Right.
really, really well.
Okay.
So you could think of, a craft brewery that's just hyper-focused on one particular style of beer, or a luxury car manufacturer like Ferrari,
Yeah.
catering to a very, very select group of customers.
Okay, so it's not about trying to be all things to all people.
No,
You're really focusing in on that one thing.
exactly.
Yeah, okay. Now the summary that we're working from really kind of hyped up this value chain concept.
Yeah.
So it says that's where things get really insightful. So fill us in on that. What's the value chain?
Well, the value chain is really a framework for kind of dissecting a company's operations.
Okay.
It breaks down all the activities involved,
Oh, wow.
from getting your raw materials to marketing to sales, customer service, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
And by analyzing each of those pieces, you can really pinpoint where value is created,
Okay.
but also where costs are piling up.
Interesting. So it's almost like looking under the hood
Yes,
of the business machine, right?
exactly.
And even if you're not, running some massive corporation, this concept applies to individuals too.
Right. Absolutely.
So if you're thinking about your personal value chain, that could be really helpful.
I think so, yeah.
In terms of, where you add the most value in the work you do,
Yeah.
where are your biggest time or money drains?
Absolutely. And that's what's so great about Porter's work is you can really apply it at different scales.
Yeah, yeah.
But for companies, the value chain helps them kind of figure out where to cut costs strategically without sacrificing quality,
Right?
which is vital for cost leadership,
Okay.
and then where to invest to make their product or service truly special. And that's really key for differentiation.
So I'm starting to see how these different pieces fit together. What I find fascinating is like how seemingly unconnected parts of the value chain can actually be linked.
Yes.
So for example, maybe investing in better tech for your warehouse also leads to faster shipping times,
Right.
which makes your customers happy,
Yes.
right? Which ultimately boosts your brand.
Exactly.
So it's kind of amazing how these things can,
Yeah, optimizing one part can have a real ripple effect across the whole business.
yeah, across the whole business. And speaking of cost leadership and differentiation, the guide we're using actually it kind of digs deeper into each of these strategies that goes beyond those,
Sure.
basic definitions.
It does, yeah.
So let's start unpacking that a little bit.
Yeah.
What are some of the key takeaways when it comes to achieving a cost advantage?
Well, I think one of the big things Porter argues is that true cost leadership isn't just about being chief, right?
No,
It's about relentlessly optimizing your entire value chain
the whole thing.
to achieve these sustainable cost advantages that rivals are going to really struggle to replicate. You have to understand the specific cost drivers in your business, what really makes things expensive in your industry.
So it's not just some random cost comb exercise.
No.
It's about targeting those specific areas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he really emphasizes that benchmarking is key.
Okay.
You've got to know how your costs stack up against your competitors to see if you're overspending.
So you're constantly kind of checking your financial pulse in a way.
Right.
Right. And what role does technology play in all of this? I mean, I feel like it must be a pretty significant factor these days.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah.
Technology can be a total game changer for achieving cost leadership.
Right.
Think about things like automation,
Yeah.
using data to better predict demand, streamline logistics. All of that can lead to massive savings.
But I imagine there's a danger, right?
Yeah.
In going too far with the cost cutting.
Absolutely.
You don't want to end up sacrificing quality or ignoring your customers' needs just to chase, the lowest possible price.
That's the tightrope you've got to walk.
Yep.
You have to find that balance.
Yeah, that's the tricky part, right?
It is.
Okay, well, let's talk differentiation now, which I know is a topic that you're really passionate about.
I am, yeah.
I mean, it's all about creating something, special and desirable, something that people are actually willing to pay a premium for.
Yeah, it's about going beyond just kind of meeting basic needs, right?
Yeah.
Creating an experience, a feeling, a connection.
Yeah, something special.
Yeah.
So what are some of the key insights from the guide when it comes to, this differentiation strategy?
Well, Porter really emphasizes that your differentiation has to be based on what customers actually value,
Okay.
not just what you think is cool.
Oh, okay.
It means you've got to do your research,
Yeah.
get feedback, really understand your target market.
So you can't get lost in your own creative bubble.
Right. It's about staying connected to that customer base.
Yeah, to that customer base.
Mm.
What are some of those drivers of differentiation?
Well, there's a bunch. There's product features, brand image,
Okay.
exceptional customer service, a unique distribution network.
Wow. Okay.
It's about finding what works for your business and your customers and then building a sustainable advantage around those things. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
You have to think about sustainability. If it's easy to copy, your competitors are going to be, breathing down your neck.
Oh, yeah. They're going to be coming after you.
Yeah.
So how do you create an advantage that's hard to imitate? I mean, it seems like nowadays almost every innovation is eventually copied, right?
Yeah, it's the big challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
It might involve developing some kind of proprietary technology
Oh, okay.
or building a brand that really evokes a certain emotion or a lifestyle,
Right.
or even creating a network of strategic partnerships that give you access to resources.
So it's kind of like building this moat around your business.
Exactly.
Right.
That's a great way to put it.
It's like you're protecting
Yes.
your territory.
Yeah.
But there's also a risk, right?
Yes.
Of overdoing it.
There is, yeah.
You can go so far with this uniqueness
Yeah.
that you end up with a product that's just too niche, too weird,
Yes.
or too expensive for most of your target market.
Absolutely.
So you need to find that sweet spot.
Yeah, you need to stand out without alienating those potential customers.
Right. And this brings us back to technology again, right?
It does.
We've talked about how it can be a cost cutter,
Yeah.
but it seems like technology can be, a major differentiator as well.
Absolutely.
Like what comes to mind when you think of that?
Well, a company like Tesla, for example,
Tesla, yeah.
their cutting edge technology is a core part of their brand.
Right.
And what makes them different from those traditional car manufacturers.
Yeah, it's like it's part of their identity, right?
It is,
That technology.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how technology can be this tool for efficiency,
Yes.
but also like a source of unique value.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And Porter, in Porter's view, this isn't just for, quote unquote tech companies.
No.
Right. It affects every industry,
Every single industry.
whether you're making cars or selling cookies or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this raises some, I think, some really interesting strategic choices for business leaders.
Right.
So do you strive to be like a technology leader? Do you invest heavily in research and development?
Yeah.
Really kind of pushing the boundaries?
Yeah.
Or do you follow a more kind of like cautious approach?
Right.
Where you're adopting, proven technologies once they've kind of become more established. And
Yeah, it depends on your industry, your risk tolerance, your long-term vision.
there's no one right answer.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's all about kind of figuring out what's the best fit
Yeah.
for you. Now this next section, I have to admit, this is a little bit counterintuitive.
It is.
The idea that some competitors can actually be good for your business.
It's a surprising one.
So I mean, isn't the whole goal to like crush the competition?
You'd think so, right?
That's what we're always taught. But Porter actually argues that some rivals, they actually make your industry stronger.
It's true.
He calls this competitor selection.
It's a really interesting concept.
Yeah, and it's a little mind-bending, I have to admit.
Yeah.
So give me an example. How could a competitor possibly be good for you?
Well, imagine a competitor that really sets high quality standards.
Okay. Yeah.
Their presence forces everyone in the industry to really raise their game, which ultimately benefits the customer, right?
Yeah.
It elevates the whole market.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that saying, like a rising tide lifts all boats.
Exactly. You got to up your game.
So when you have strong competitors, you can't afford to be complacent, right?
Oh.
You're constantly being pushed to improve your offerings and find ways to stay ahead.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in a way, competitors can actually be a source of like inspiration and motivation.
They can.
They're helping you to kind of see, your blind spots and pushing you to be better.
It's a healthy dynamic.
It's a healthy dynamic.
Yeah.
As long as the competition is fair.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really about delivering that value, right?
Yes.
To the customer. Of course, there's bad competitors too, right?
Of course there are. Yeah.
The ones who are just trying to cutthroat tactics or win by hook or by crook.
Yeah.
And those can actually damage the whole industry.
Exactly. They create a race to the bottom.
Yeah.
Where nobody wins.
Where nobody wins. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about recognizing, I guess, the difference between those who are playing the long game.
Right.
Those who are focused on creating value.
Yes.
And those who are just trying to win at all costs.
Exactly.
Right. Now, this next topic is something that I think a lot of people struggle with, especially especially those who are just kind of starting out in business,
Oh, right.
entrepreneurs, and that's industry segmentation.
Yeah.
It's so easy when you have your idea to get all excited and think, like, everybody is going to love this.
It's tempting, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
But that's rarely the case.
It's so rarely the case.
Right. So how do you avoid falling into that trap?
Well, that's where industry segmentation comes in.
Okay.
It's about dividing a market, a broad market,
Right.
into smaller, more specific groups of customers.
Right. Breaking it down.
Who share similar needs and preferences.
Okay.
So instead of trying to conquer the whole world,
The whole market.
you focus on winning over a particular segment.
So it's almost like you're finding your niche.
Exactly.
So you're finding your tribe.
Right. Your tribe, you're understanding their needs, you're tailoring your message to them.
Yeah, you're speaking their language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're speaking different languages,
It is.
appealing to different values.
Yes.
And you're understanding the nuances of each of these segments.
Absolutely.
Right.
And by doing that, you can really become the go-to solution
Yeah.
for those customers and establish a really strong foothold.
Okay, so we've talked about how to compete with rivals.
Right.
But what about those threats that come from outside your industry?
Oh, yeah. They're out there.
The substitutes?
That seem to just appear out of nowhere and just completely disrupt the whole game.
Yeah, that's one of those 5 forces we talked about.
It is, yeah.
And it can be a really formidable challenge.
I mean, do you have, like, an example that comes to mind?
Well, the rise of video conferencing as a substitute for business travel,
Oh, yeah.
that's a perfect example
Yeah.
of how quickly things can change.
Yeah, it was like one day we're all traveling for meetings.
Yeah.
And then, boom, it's all, on Zoom or Teams or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So how do you even, I mean, I guess, is it even possible to prepare for the unknown in that way?
Well, I think it's about constantly scanning the horizon, right?
Yeah.
Looking for those emerging trends,
Okay.
those new technologies, those shifts in customer behavior.
Okay.
You've got to ask yourself, what could disrupt my business?
Right.
What needs aren't being met?
Uh-huh.
And how might those needs be addressed?
In a completely different way.
A completely different way,
Right.
And there are strategies you can use to kind of mitigate the threat.
Okay.
One is to make switching costs high.
Okay.
So think things like loyalty programs,
Good.
long-term contracts,
Uh-huh.
or these integrated product ecosystems
Okay.
that make it a pain, to switch to a competitor.
So you're kind of creating that stickiness
Yeah.
that keeps customers loyal,
Yeah.
even when there's other options out there.
Yeah, even when there are those tempting alternatives.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was the other strategy?
The other strategy is to differentiate yourself so much
Okay.
that the substitutes just don't compare.
Oh, yeah.
So think like a local artisanal bakery versus a mass-produced bread brand.
Okay.
There's that quality and experience difference that you just can't, replicate.
So it's almost like building a brand that stands for something,
Exactly.
that has a certain emotion or a feeling.
Yeah.
That offers a level of, I don't know, craftsmanship or personalization
Yeah.
that these mass-produced substitutes just can't match.
Exactly. And it's about staying ahead of the curve, constantly evolving, innovating, meeting those emerging needs.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's move on to interrelationships.
Yeah.
So this is about how different parts of a company actually work together, right?
It is.
So I imagine this is an area where, larger companies have like a natural advantage because they have like all these resources.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But it's just as important for smaller businesses as well.
Okay, so even a solopreneur or a small startup,
Yeah.
they need to be thinking about how all these different aspects are interconnected.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Because even if you're just a one-person operation, you're probably wearing multiple hats.
Right. You're doing everything.
You're the CEO, you're the marketer,
Right.
you're doing the sales,
Right.
customer service, all rolled into one.
So the key is to recognize that all those roles are connected
They are, yeah.
and that, the more effectively you can manage those relationships,
Yeah.
the better, things are going to run.
The smoother the operation.
The smoother the operation, yeah.
Right. And as your business grows and you start bringing on other people,
Can't believe
contractors,
it.
it becomes even more important
Okay.
to establish those lines of communication, share that knowledge.
Like down those silos.
Yeah, absolutely. Prevent those different parts of the business from working against each other.
Working against each other. So
Yeah.
so it's almost like creating this culture of collaboration.
Exactly.
Oh.
Where everyone understands, where they fit in
Yeah.
and how the information flows.
The information flows.
Yeah.
And Porter highlights that, well-managed interrelationships,
Yes.
they can lead to really significant competitive advantages.
They can, yeah.
I mean, think about it. When your marketing team, they're in sync with your product development team,
Yeah.
you're more likely to create, offerings that really resonate
Absolutely.
with your target market, right?
And when your sales team understands your customers' needs,
Yeah.
they can position your products better
Right.
to really resonate.
And when your customer service team, they're empowered to solve problems.
Right.
Right. They can gather that valuable feedback.
Yeah.
And that can lead to improvements in everything, really.
Absolutely. It can improve the product design, the marketing,
Yeah. It's almost amazing how these little things like a customer service rep sharing, a little bit of feedback with the product team
Yeah.
can have this ripple effect
Yeah, it's all connected.
across the organization.
It is, and the more effectively you manage those connections,
Yeah.
the more agile your business will be.
Yeah. Yeah. So this brings us to another strategic concept, and it requires a little bit of a shift in perspective.
Okay.
It's horizontal strategy.
Horizontal strategy.
So this isn't about controlling your supply chain, right?
No, that's vertical integration.
Right, right. This is about expanding outward,
Yes,
diversifying your offerings in a way.
exactly. It's about leveraging your existing strengths
Okay.
and resources to expand into new product lines, markets, geographic regions, things that are related to your core business.
So it's not about reinventing the wheel. You're taking what you're good at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're applying it in a new and innovative way.
Give me like an example.
Well, let's say a company makes athletic shoes.
Okay. Yeah.
They might use their brand recognition
Yeah.
and their understanding of that market
Yeah.
to launch a line of athletic apparel.
Okay. Yeah.
Makes sense, right?
Or a software company might, decide to branch out into consulting services.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Help their clients actually, use their software.
Implement it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's about finding these natural extensions
Yeah.
of your business.
And you can reach new customers that way.
Got it.
Increase revenue streams.
Yeah.
Really strengthen your market position.
But it has to be, I'm guessing, like a good strategic fit.
It does. You can't just add random stuff
Right.
to your portfolio just for the sake of it.
It needs
Yeah.
to be something that makes sense.
It has to be a logical extension
Right?
of what you're already good at.
Yeah. Okay, this actually reminds me of another concept that we kind of touched on before.
Okay.
Complementary products.
Ah, yes.
So it's kind of the better together strategy.
Right.
The idea that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
I mean, think about like classic examples like printers and ink cartridges.
Right. One is useless without the other.
Exactly. And those gaming consoles and the video games,
Yeah. Yeah.
they're designed to work together.
Right. And people are often like, incentivized to buy both.
They are, yeah.
So by offering these complementary products, you're kind of creating this more, I guess, comprehensive package.
There's a whole value proposition, yeah.
Yeah, for your customer.
Yeah.
Right. And it often locks them into an ecosystem.
It does.
Right.
Of products and services.
It's like creating this little world
yes.
that they want to be a part of, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and they're more invested in your brand.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
They're less likely to switch to a competitor who might only offer, a piece of that puzzle.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
So strategically speaking, partnerships must be really, really key here.
They are, yeah.
Right.
Because you don't have to do it all yourself.
Right.
You find those collaborators who can help you create that whole package.
Right.
That offers, incredible value to your customers.
That irresistible value.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, well we've talked a lot about planning and strategizing.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest challenges for any business is dealing with uncertainty.
Oh, it's a big one.
Right.
It is.
I mean, the world is constantly changing.
Yeah.
Even the best laid plans can be disrupted by unexpected events.
He can.
Right.
Absolutely.
So how do you like prepare for the unpredictable?
Well, that's where Porter really emphasizes this idea of scenario planning.
Scenario planning.
It's acknowledging that you can't predict the future with certainty.
Yeah.
So instead of betting on just one outcome,
Yeah.
you have to imagine several,
Right. Several different possibilities.
both good and bad.
Okay, so it's not about like, having this rigid 5-year plan
Yeah.
where you assume everything's just going to go perfectly.
Right.
It's about having these what-if scenarios.
Exactly.
Right.
What if a new technology comes along and disrupts everything?
Right.
What if there is a global pandemic?
Oh, yeah.
What if there's like this sudden surge in demand, that your supply chain just can't handle?
Right, so it's almost like a stress test
It is.
for your business.
Yeah, a mental workout for your business strategy.
Your business strategy.
Yeah.
And by going through this exercise, you're not just like preparing for the unknown, but you're also developing like more flexible strategies.
Exactly. Yeah,
Right.
strategies that can adapt
Okay.
to whatever happens.
So it's not about being right
No,
about the future.
it's not about predicting it perfectly.
It's about being prepared.
It's about building that resilience.
Yeah. So you can weather the storm,
Exactly.
whatever it might be.
Yeah. Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about a topic that's not as glamorous as, innovation and disruption,
Okay.
but equally important. Defensive strategy.
Defensive strategy. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is about protecting what you've built.
It is.
Right.
Maintaining your position.
Yeah.
Profitability in the face of competition.
It's not as, it's not as sexy as launching a new product or conquering a new market or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's essential.
Absolutely. It's about protecting what you've worked so hard for.
Okay, so what are like some of the key defensive strategies?
Well, one approach is to build such strong brand loyalty
Okay.
that your customers are unlikely to even look at the competition.
Okay, so this could involve like investing in exceptional customer service.
Absolutely.
Right.
Really going above and beyond
Yeah.
to create a positive experience,
What?
a memorable experience.
So they feel like they're valued and they're appreciated and they're part of something.
Exactly. You're building that connection.
Yeah, okay. And what was another one?
Another tactic is to build those barriers to entry.
Okay, barriers
Yeah.
to entry. So this is making it difficult for new players to even get into the game.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, maybe you achieve such economies of scale
Right.
that your prices are just unbeatable.
Okay.
Or you secure exclusive distribution channels,
Right.
that give you control over how your products reach your customers.
Okay.
Or maybe you develop this proprietary technology
Yeah.
that gives you a real edge.
So you're kind of like putting up these walls.
You are.
Right.
Absolutely.
To make it as hard as possible
You're making it as hard as possible.
for those newcomers to compete with you.
Exactly. And of course, you always have to be ready to respond to threats as they arise.
Yeah, you can't just sit back and relax.
No, you
Got
can't
it.
rest on your laurels.
Yeah, so if a competitor launches like a new product or a really aggressive pricing strategy,
You need to be ready to counter that.
absolutely.
Right.
You've got to have a plan.
Protect your market share.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So what would that look like? Like would you match their price? Or would you, highlight the value of your own offerings?
Well, it could be any of those things.
Yeah.
Maybe you launch a new marketing campaign
Right.
to counter their advertising blitz,
Right.
or you develop a new product,
Right.
to leapfrog them.
So the key is to respond strategically.
It is.
Right.
Yeah, don't overreact.
Don't just knee jerk into a response that might not,
Yeah, don't get caught up in that tit for tat battle.
Right.
That's just going to drain your resources.
Right. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense.
It can be. Yeah.
Right. But you need to choose your battles.
Yeah.
Now, what about those situations where you're not the incumbent?
Right.
Yeah.
We're the challenger.
You're the challenge.
How do you take on the market leader?
I mean, that seems like a real uphill battle.
It's tough. It's definitely challenging.
Yeah.
But look at companies like Netflix, Amazon, Tesla.
Right.
They all started as underdogs.
Right.
And now they're the giants.
They're the giants, yeah. So what's their secret? How do you do that? How do you challenge a Goliath, so to speak?
Well, I think the first thing is you've got to be strategic,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Avoid those head-on attacks.
Right.
They almost never work against a company with that much power.
They've got the resources, they've got the brand recognition, they've got everything, right?
Exactly.
So you gotta be smarter.
Be smarter.
You
Yeah.
gotta be more strategic. So find the leader's weak spots.
Exactly.
Right.
Find those gaps.
Okay.
The areas where they're neglecting customers
Okay.
or their offerings are just, behind the times. So you're kind of looking for those cracks in the armor.
You are.
Right.
You are.
You're looking for those areas where you can offer something better.
Yeah, a superior value proposition.
Yeah.
Or you're exploiting a missed opportunity.
Yeah, so you're finding your angle.
Yes.
Right.
Your unique angle.
You're finding that unique value proposition
Yes.
that differentiates you
Yeah.
and gives customers a reason to choose you.
Exactly.
Right.
And don't forget, as a challenger, you've got the advantage of agility.
Oh, okay.
You can move faster,
Yeah.
adapt more quickly, experiment more.
Right.
Yeah. You don't have the burden of legacy systems.
All right, so it's almost like that classic David and Goliath story, right?
It is.
You've got the smaller, more nimble player
Exactly.
who can outmaneuver the giant.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
And don't forget those alliances.
Alliances, yeah.
Smaller companies can team up.
Right. Pool their resources.
Pool their resources. So it's kind of like finding strength in numbers.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And kind of using that collective power to take on this seemingly, insurmountable opponent.
Exactly.
Okay, but even with the best strategy in the world,
Yeah.
it all comes down to execution, right?
It really does.
I mean, you can have the most brilliant plan,
Yeah.
but if you can't execute it,
It's worthless.
yeah,
It's all about execution.
it's all that execution. Well, we'll be back after a quick break to wrap up our deep dive into competitive advantage
Sounds good.
and share some final thoughts on how you can apply these ideas to your own ventures.
Welcome back. I don't know about you, but my head is kind of spinning with all these insights from Porter.
It's a lot to take in, isn't it?
Yeah, but in a good way. In a good way. It's like we've had this crash course in competitive strategy.
It's like a mental boot camp.
Yeah. And I'm feeling energized,
I do, yeah.
like ready to go out there and take on the world.
It's funny because his work, it's so dense, right?
Yeah.
but it's also so like refreshing and inspiring in a way.
It is. Yeah, it is. One thing that that's becoming clearer to me is that achieving this competitive advantage, it's not like a one-time event.
No,
It's like this ongoing process.
it is. And you've got to be analyzing, adapting, executing.
Constant, right.
It never stops.
It never stops. And the competitive landscape is constantly shifting.
It is, and the people who stand still, they get left behind.
Yeah, they get eaten alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to be vigilant. You've got to
Right.
be proactive, and you have to be willing to evolve.
Yeah. And Porter gives us like this really powerful framework
He does, yeah.
for understanding these dynamics and his concepts, the five forces, the value chain.
Yeah.
I mean, they offer this lens, through which we can analyze, I guess, any competitive situation, really,
Any situation at all.
whether there's a massive corporation or our own personal goals.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's like this mental toolkit.
Yeah, it's like having like a Swiss Army knife of business strategy.
Yeah, for navigating the complexities of the world, right?
Yeah.
And making those strategic choices that lead to those lasting results.
That's what we all want, isn't it?
That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to kind of circle back to one of the key themes
Yeah.
that's really emerged throughout our discussion, and that's the importance of understanding your customer.
It really is the foundation, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm starting to see that more and more as we talk through all of this.
It is. And it doesn't matter if you're pursuing cost leadership or differentiation,
Right.
or focus.
It all starts there.
It all comes back to understanding those needs, those desires,
Their pain points.
Yeah.
What they're looking for.
Absolutely, their aspirations.
Right. Porter, he says that your differentiation has to be based on what customers actually value.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not about what you think.
Yeah. So you might have this idea that you've created this amazing product,
Right.
but if it doesn't solve a problem or fulfill a need,
If it doesn't connect,
yeah, if it doesn't connect, it's gonna flop.
it will. It's a harsh reality,
Yeah.
but so important to remember.
And that requires us to be constantly doing that research,
Yeah.
getting that feedback.
Yeah. Constantly checking in.
Yeah. And being willing to adapt,
So,
you
yeah.
know, as things change.
Exactly.
So it's not this set it and forget it approach. You're always listening to your customers.
Yeah, you're analyzing,
Yeah.
making adjustments.
And this brings us back to interrelationships again, right?
It does, yeah.
So when your different departments are talking to each other,
Yeah.
you know,
Sharing that information.
when they're sharing that information, when they're working together,
Yeah.
you're much more likely to create those products and services that really, really connect.
Exactly. And it's about breaking down those silos.
Breaking down the silos.
Building a culture of collaboration, where
Yeah.
everyone understands that the customer is at the heart of everything.
The customer at the heart of everything.
Yeah, before we finish up, I wanted to touch on something that's often forgotten when we're talking about all this business stuff.
Okay, what's that?
It's the human element.
The human element, yeah.
Yeah, you get caught up in the numbers, the market analysis, all the competition.
Yeah.
But we're talking about people here.
Yeah.
And Porter, he emphasizes that building a competitive advantage,
Yeah.
it needs a strong organizational culture,
Okay.
a committed team, and leaders that inspire.
Right. So it's almost like creating this environment where people feel valued.
Exactly.
Right, where their contributions are recognized and they feel, I don't know, motivated to go that extra mile.
Yeah, to go above and beyond.
Yeah, to go above and beyond because they're part of something.
They feel a sense of ownership.
Yeah, and pride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that you can't just, put on a spreadsheet
Right.
or put in your strategic plan.
It's that human connection.
It is. It's about creating a company where people want to come to work.
Right.
They feel like they're part of something bigger.
Bigger than themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're inspired to do their best work.
Porter's work gives us the roadmap, but it's the people who bring it to life.
I like that. Porter gives us the roadmap, but it's the people who bring it to life.
Mm-hmm.
So as we wrap up our deep dive here into competitive advantage, what are some of the key takeaways that you'd like our listeners to remember?
I think one of the biggest is that achieving this competitive advantage, it's not about being the best at everything.
Right.
Right? It's about choosing that specific strategy,
Okay.
cost leadership, differentiation, focus,
Right.
and then aligning your entire organization around that choice.
So it's about focus.
Yeah, it's about focus.
Right.
It's about making tough decisions.
Yeah, but where are you going to put your resources?
Exactly.
Yeah, and then excelling in those areas.
And another key takeaway is that competitive advantage, it's not static.
Yeah.
It's constantly being challenged.
Right.
And the people who just stand still, they get overtaken.
Yeah.
So you've got to be vigilant. You've got to be
You
adaptable.
want to be willing to change.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like surfing, right?
Surfing.
You have to constantly adjust your position.
To stay on top of the wave.
Yeah, to stay balanced and
Well,
ride that wave to success.
Ride that wave to success. I like that.
And Porter, he reminds us that it's not enough to just have a great strategy.
No, you got to be able to make it happen.
You have to execute.
Execution.
Yeah, you need the right team, the right culture, the right processes.
So to sum it all up,
Yeah.
you got to understand your customer.
Yeah.
You got to choose your strategy. You got to adapt to change
Yeah.
and execute flawlessly.
If you can do all that, you're well on your way to building a sustainable competitive advantage.
That's it. That's the secret sauce. Well, I really enjoyed this deep dive. It's been incredibly insightful.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's yeah, Porter's work is always stimulating.
It is. It's always a challenge, but it's a rewarding challenge.
It is, yeah.
Thank you for joining us today. Visit the 1 Hour Guide website for more business guides by Anil Nathu.